Hello, this is Dominic from the Jack and Dom Radio Show, a weekly sports radio program, and although we broadcast on professional hardware, we do record our show mostly on my laptop, and sometimes I don't press record right when we start. Some shows will start right in the middle of a topic. Regardless, this show is a work of love and passion for sports with raw and transparent opinions between the two of us. So I hope you all enjoy.
H1 Marquette. If anyone was wanting to listen to the Macarena, sorry. It's just
Macarena.
The Macarena. Just had to kind of cut you off there, unfortunately. But Jack, this is Jack and Dom Radio Show. I know, crazy, ugly weather today.
It hailed today. Crazy stuff.
It did.
Welcome winter. It's finally here.
Well, just wanted to obviously start out. The opinions said on the show do not represent the opinions of this radio station or the university. Being said, good evening, everyone. I do have some good news that I do want to share with you. You came in later, so I didn't have time to share with you. But our recordings are now available online.
Woo!
Just last week, but I'm gonna start uploading more of our show recordings on like Apple Podcasts, Spotify,
Nice.
Amazon Music, which has like a podcast tab. So yeah, it'll be available. It's just the Jack and Dom Radio Show.
Awesome. That sounds epic.
And
I'm excited.
I should have shared with you like potential logo possibilities.
Ooh.
I just have it's just a football field, the Jack and Dom Radio Show on the top, but then you have a green hat and a yellow hat for Michigan State, because you know you're a Michigan fan, Michigan State fan.
Hat.
Yeah.
And
So
it's NMU colors.
yeah, that too.
I don't know if you did them on purpose, but
well, yellow was just yellow, not gold.
okay, close enough.
But that was the idea. Although we can change it anytime.
Just good to know, though.
Also, another thing, not sports related, not election related. Although I understand
we all have
how.
our feelings.
Yeah, we all have our feelings. I know a lot of people are feeling low. A lot of people feeling high too. Look on social media. But on a different note, the NMU newspaper strikes again, because I know last week we talked about an opinion piece, football article. We mostly agreed to, although there was some stuff that we had some questions on.
It was definitely an interesting article. They posted online. I'll give them that.
But this time, oh my goodness. So for those who don't know, I used to work at the Wildcat Den.
I've got good friends who work there, by the way.
Yeah, and I'm friends with some of them. Some of them miss me, some of them don't. That's just life.
Hey, that's how every job is.
That's every job. I wish everyone was.
That's
I was
probably
friends
how
with
Dennis
everyone.
Allen is feeling right now with the Saints. But anyway.
Oh yeah. Well, the opinion piece titled "When Will the Wildcat Den Stop Serving Raw Food?"
It's medium rare.
It's medium
guys.
rare. Okay.
You do know that meat can be red.
It can be a little bit red.
This
yeah.
isn't chicken, guys. Meat can be red. Now, don't get me wrong. I am a medium well to well done burger guy. I used to eat raw meat, and I mean raw meat. I'd go to Black Rock. I'd let it touch for less than a second, and I'd be like, "This is great." Okay, I was a weird kid.
Wow.
We can talk about that off the air.
Did you not get
I never
sick?
got food poisoning or anything.
Huh.
I barely let it touch the grill. If there was a black mark on my meat, I wouldn't touch it.
Interesting.
So it had to be medium rare.
But now you've
now I
grown
like
up.
well done meat.
Okay.
And I won't eat medium rare now. So I've completely switched.
I am more of a medium rare. I will ask for medium.
I ask for a medium well, but if it's a medium, I can eat. Medium rare and rare.
If it's rare, I can't.
But the
I
point
need a little more.
That is not raw.
It's not raw.
I've had raw meat.
It's and the picture that's in the article,
it's a little red,
which says, "No pink, please. This is a raw burger I received from Wildcat Den." First of all, that's not raw. Okay. And second, and later down the article, the red juice coming out of the burger is not blood. It's broken down because you cook it. But yeah, like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I was just flabbergasted.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting to talk about things that are happening on campus.
My friends who and former coworkers who are in the NMU dining services are not happy. Well, and they're not happy at all.
Given how hard we're working to try and make dining hall a better environment to work at, this is not good.
And I mean, and don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. The NLD, you know, they have their issues, right, like the chicken, the ice cream machine not working, which it never works anymore.
Right.
I remember the previous ice cream machine that also never worked.
Yeah, I just, I don't want to harp on it too much because it's not a sports point, but I think it's one of those things where, with the election, with everything else, right, there's a lot of news circulating. Not all of it is true. It's inaccurate. So, this is another reminder that, don't read every clickbait NFL article you see. Use discernment when you're looking at political news. And when you read the Northwind, read it with a grain of salt.
Yes, and
that's the lesson.
And final thought before we move on. We do not advocate anyone harassing anybody, bullying anybody.
Right. Be civil about it. Be
civil. I bet if the editor writer of this article had $1 for every time someone brought it up.
Right. They'd be rich.
They'd be rich.
But
you don't have to bring it up. It's already
that's a perfect.
The comment sections of all of the social media sites that the no newspaper have because they post their articles. It's already packed full of comments from people saying what we just said. So, and then that could be for anything.
That's a perfect segue into something you have every right to complain about on a daily basis.
Our NMU football team.
21st straight loss.
Ooh.
21st.
A school record.
We now have more losses in a row than I am years old.
Oh, wow.
I'm not even 20 yet, but still. I'm a week behind.
You're 20?
Last week.
You're 20?
Not yet.
I was just trying to replicate that meme from the little kid.
Point being, I don't even know what to say to you. I don't watch the games. I don't look at the posts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't read the news.
I watched the game.
God help you and God help us all. I mean, this is
Guess how many pass completions in the first half?
None, which is crazy. 0. This is trending towards worse than Cleveland Browns territory. At least the Browns were an NFL team, and so you watch them. They had their weeks. There was 1 week where Johnny Manziel was average, and people were oh, maybe he's the guy. With NMU, you're
there was one drive in the first half where they just ran it every time, basically all option plays, and then basically brute force it down the field. The second touchdown that was in the second half was because a field goal got blocked.
Oh.
The ball went up in the air. When it came down, which it didn't pass the line of scrimmage, a lineman caught it, and then basically everyone else just pushed him into the end zone.
Weird.
And that was the second touchdown.
Yeah, I don't even know anymore. I'm not much into criticizing coaches.
Multiple fumbles and interceptions.
I mean, I'm not much into criticizing. I should say, I've criticized him all year long since we started this year in the show, and I think even you and I criticized him a little bit last year with a little bit more patience because we were it's year one. But from the start, we've been complaining. I'm not one to complain about coaches unless I see a really big coaching problem.
Yep.
So with NMU, you've got the player complaints that you've said that are not necessarily official, but when you see pushing and shoving on the sidelines,
which I actually saw on video,
right?
A little bit.
That Northwood article kind of touched on the coaching issues, right? There's a clear coaching issue.
Yes.
And one of the things that I was thinking about, I don't know why, I woke up at 3 a.m. the other day and had 6 different really amazing thoughts, not all about the NMU football team, but my brain turned the hell on.
Okay.
And I was I know we aren't that talented of a team, but we have 3 all-GLIAC caliber players, and I get it, the GLIAC is not the world's best conference, although I would argue
for D2, it's one of the best.
It's one of the better ones in D2, though. So you've got 3 all-GLIAC players that you could theoretically build around, and yet you're not, and you're this bad. the talent is there, in my opinion. I get it. It's a lot of freshmen, it's a lot of sophomores, but like the talent is there. The results are not. Like if you look at a talent composite, which it's a lot harder to find talent composites for D2 because like you don't really have star ratings for most D2 guys.
No.
Maybe a couple JUCOs or 1-stars or something, but like not really, right? So, it's harder to find like recruiting class rankings and composites. And like, it's hard to grade these players that aren't
usually those 1-star are busts.
Right.
That the FCS are getting rid of or don't even want.
Right. So like you don't get a lot of guys that are in the rankings and stuff like that. Right. So it's difficult to grade recruiting classes, to grade high school prospects when you're a D2 team as compared to a D1 team, right? You don't have the, 247 rankings and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like, from what I've seen, there's a lot of fumbles. The execution isn't there. Like, don't get me wrong, even if the coach is 99% of the problem, the players are still at fault, right?
A little. Well,
a little.
Yes.
I think it's like an 80-20, 90-10.
You win as a team, you lose as a team.
I think the bigger problem is their confidence is shattered.
Yes.
And so then you don't play at your best.
Yes.
And what coaching is supposed to do, and I would argue Dan Campbell is one of the best in the world at this.
Yes.
There are some soccer coaches, if you're a soccer guy like me, Jose Mourinho is very good at this kind of thing. When your team is down, when your players are down, whether it's Dan Campbell saying we're going to bite a kneecap, or whether it's just that energy guy in the locker room. I think Mike McDaniel can sometimes be that guy for the Dolphins, Sean McVay. Like, every coach has their moments, every good coach at least.
Yep.
But it is the job of a coach to do a couple of things. Recruit, which, again, hard to do in D2. I think we're recruiting okay for a school that's as bad as we are right now. It's hard to recruit when you have one game. So I don't think that's the problem. Part 2 is you got to call a good game plan, right? Your job as a coach is to prepare the team for a game.
Yes.
Okay? I think that's a big problem. But again, players aren't necessarily executing perfectly. So that's a big problem. But I think the biggest problem of all is you could call the world's best game plan, which for the record, we don't. We most certainly don't.
No.
But let's say hypothetically we called an amazing game plan. We had trick plays and our quarterback threw for like 600, like something absurd.
Like high percentage plays.
Right, high percentage plays is a better way of putting it. High percentage plays only work if your players buy it.
Yes.
And I don't think it's a motivation issue.
They're not buying it at all.
But I do think they're not buying it at all. And why would you? You're a winless team. Your coach's reputation was, in my opinion, poor before here because he was poor in his previous head coaching opportunities.
Yes.
You brought in coordinators that, from Finlandia and other schools where they also didn't have success.
Correct.
So you brought in guys with a track record of, to put it nicely, mediocre results.
I wouldn't even say mediocre. What's worse than mediocre?
Yeah, I guess terrible.
If Finlandia hasn't won a football game in the last 3.5 years of existence.
Right. Well, we're trending that direction.
Yeah.
I was trying to be nice about it, but sure, they were terrible. So you don't bring in winners. You bring in a losing culture. And then throughout the first year and change, and now as we approach the end of year 2, you've had reports off the record about locker room issues. You've had players who look exhausted, head in their hands.
Multiple reports of
they're not doing well, right? The buy-in, the motivating the players aspect is not there, right?
Yes.
Even bad teams with bad game plans, bad players, you can have coaches that motivate you, right? Yes. And then you play better.
Who's Deion Sanders? Sanders, he's I know his first year at Colorado was a struggle,
right?
But had a winning culture, had accountability,
I think
things like that.
The interesting thing, Deion,
and now it's paying off.
Deion, in my opinion, is not a good example because Deion's got one of the best QBs, and
his son, right?
His son is incredible. Travis Hunter is a unicorn. He's gotten very lucky in his player personnel.
Yeah.
The rest of the team is bad. I'll give you that.
Well, a lot of transfers, but
right. But I'll give you it's below average. But you have 2 superstars. An example I would give that I think fits this mold better is the early Dan Campbell era of the Lions.
Okay.
Year 1 and then especially the end of year 2. So year one, I can't remember how bad of a record we had. It was like 3-13 it was like 3-12-1 or like 4-11-1, right? It was bad.
Let me check.
Because we started, I think, 0-10-1.
Yeah. And I remember our first win was, I think in 2021.
Was that against Minnesota?
Minnesota.
At the last minute with
it was
St.
two.
Brown,
it
right?
was yeah. It was literally no time left on the clock.
Right.
2 days before my birthday. I remember I was in the cafeteria watching the game on my phone, and there was only a few people there, but I literally was like jumped up and was like, yeah, go. And like some people were looking at me weird. I'm like, they just won their first game. It's like it's game 13.
The point was they had competed previously. They hadn't won, right?
But yeah, we went 3. Yeah, we only won.
It was a bad year.
3 wins.
We really hadn't won much, and even after that, we didn't win much that year. But we fought in almost every game. There were a few blowouts, but it wasn't like the Matt Patricia era. Like,
oh gosh,
there was effort there, right? The team played good. We tied a good Pittsburgh team up until that point.
Yes.
Right? And then we beat the Vikings.
Which was a good Vikings team.
Right. And the buy-in was there, right? People thought we could turn it around. Dan Campbell motivated those guys. And then we go into year 2.
And, last game of that year, we beat Green Bay.
Right. No, that was the following year, I thought.
No. I'm looking at the schedule.
You're right. We beat Green Bay the last week of the season both years. Okay, so then you go into year 2. And year 2, I think we started off sluggish also.
Yes.
But
until
at the end of the season.
Until something happened in late October.
Well, we caught fire. But the end
Do you know why?
Why?
Because Peyton Manning broke the curse of Bobby Lane.
Yes. Okay. back to the point I wanted to make.
The curse was broken.
You can argue that's what did it. But I think 2 things did it.
Yes.
One, you had buy-in from day one. He came in there and the guys loved him. And they lost and lost and lost at the start, but they loved him. They played hard for him. They thought he could turn it around. I didn't. I thought we were screwed. I'm, biggest pessimist ever. And I think a lot of Lions fans were worried after we went 3-13-1 and started slow year 2.
Yeah.
But the players bought in. His game plans were okay. He got lucky and he lucked into 2 very elite coordinators that will both likely get head coaching positions.
Oh, yeah.
But those first couple of years...
We want to keep him as long as possible.
The first couple of years, their game plans were still developing. They were okay. The talent wasn't there, right? They got outplayed. They got out-schemed. But they learned and they had the buy-in. That's the key. In my opinion, of those 3 pieces, buy-in matters the most.
Yes.
A bad team with a bad game plan with full buy-in can do a lot of things. But getting to the point. So, they start winning. That's great and dandy. But they're out of the playoff picture, right? They sort of sneak in for a minute. But then, I think it was Seattle won and knocked them out of the playoffs.
Exactly.
So they were out no matter what.
And we beat Green Bay to force Green Bay out of the playoffs.
Way to steal my point.
And was Aaron Rodgers' last game as a Packer, and was his last pass, completed pass for a while.
But the key the key there though is that was a meaningless game on paper. I get it; it's a rivalry game, right? But we had nothing. We win nothing from winning that game. I mean, sure you get bragging rights over Green Bay, but we were out of the playoffs. We had nothing to play for. Yeah, I know Green Bay had some stuff to play for, and that contributed to it a little bit. But you get the idea, right?
Yes.
And that Detroit team went in there and won that game and played absolutely lights out. Lights out. Like a great game in a meaningless game.
Yes.
Because they had buy-in.
They bought in,
and then you get to year 3.
And we beat Kansas City. First game of that year, we beat Kansas City.
You started on fire. You had the buy-in. You finally had the talent. You go all the way to the NFC Championship game, and you really should have gone to the Super Bowl.
I know.
With a couple fourth down drops, right? And now you're going into year 4, and you're now the best team in the league. Now I get it. Shane Richardson is not Dan Campbell. We are not the Lions, okay? But even bad teams, right? Even that 0-10-1 Lions team that had nothing. No talent. They were thin at every position. Coordinators were still developing, right? I think it was both of their first times coordinating an offense and a defense, right? The talent wasn't there. It was Dan's first time as a head coach, except for his interim with the Dolphins. We don't really count that, right? Or sorry, with the Saints. Or was it the Dolphins? Anyway,
I think it was the Dolphins.
It was the Dolphins, I think. But anyway, right? You had buy-in. And then when you won that first game, right, everything changed. Then when you won that Green Bay game, that's when everything really changed.
Yes.
But you had buy-in from the start. You kept the guys motivated, and you showed them you could win. right? Any team can do that. Obviously, you need some talent. You need a game plan. Like,
our basketball team did that.
Right. Our basketball team built themselves up from scratch. Like, it can be done. And you have to have a game plan. You have to have good coaching. You have to have good players. Of course. Like, you can't win without those things. But it's that third ingredient that's the most important and that I think, are lacking the most. That makes it tough. You have to have somebody, whoever they decide to hire. Honestly, I think I'd be shocked, and I assume you would too, if he makes it past this season. At 0-22, I mean. What progress are you seeing? You are a few points closer against some quality opponents. Like, that's participation trophy type of mentality.
Yeah.
Well, we were in the game. No, you really weren't.
In the game at Davenport that I watched yesterday, for a hot minute, literally it was like a minute.
Right, but that's the problem.
We were down by a touchdown.
That's the problem.
And then literally you blank and we're down by 20.
Right, but that's the problem, is we're in it and then we're not.
Yes.
So I don't want to harp on it too much more because we spent entire shows
I know
talking about this. But the point is, it's unacceptable. It's ridiculous.
We do have a small chance of winning against Win State.
Okay,
they only won one game.
Stop. It's going to be embarrassing when we lose to them by 30.
They beat Roosevelt.
We're going to lose by 30. You already know it.
Probably.
Okay. Let's go to a couple happier topics of basketball and soccer.
Yeah, there were those like little mini tournaments that they sometimes do, and both our men and women's teams start the season 2-0,
which is awesome. I'm excited for basketball season. I think of all the teams here, they have the best chance of winning something this year.
Yes,
and I think given how we played against Michigan State, I know we won Did we win the GLIAC regular season once or twice?
Last year, regular season, the year before the tournament.
Okay. So we've had some success, but we have not won a postseason game in the tournament, correct? The official tournament.
No. 2 years ago, we won a game.
Did we?
Yes. I believe it was Hillsdale.
Okay, so we haven't gone very
far. We faced Hillsdale 2 years ago, and we beat them.
We haven't gone very far.
But then I think the next team was a really good Midwest team.
I think this year they've got a shot to do some damage in the GLIAC.
Oh, and in the tournament, yeah.
It's a very good team.
It's a lot of buy-in.
There's
it really
a lot of
is.
buy-in.
I can tell you, there's a lot of buy-in.
Yes, you've got good players.
Yes.
Yes, you've got good coaching, most definitely. But you've got the buy-in, and that's what matters the most, right? If
we got the culture.
Right. If a bunch of unmotivated guys, like let's say even NBA players, went and played for Tom Izzo, like made a super team and played against college teams. I mean, they'd probably win. It's pros versus college players.
But it's also Tom Izzo. Tom Izzo's a good coach.
Right. I'm just trying to say, you got to have buy-in.
Yes.
And we do. And I think that's what's going to make us successful. Same deal with the women's soccer team hosting the GLIAC quarterfinals against Tech tomorrow at 2. They have buy-in. They have talent. And I don't know much about the women's soccer team, but I'm going to assume that they got a pretty good game plan that got them this far. Right? And good coaching. So, again, those 3 ingredients make a successful team. And you have to have them. And I think they're going to beat Tech tomorrow. At least I hope they do. I always enjoy it when we beat our rivals.
Yes.
And obviously we're hosting that game, so we should, in theory, be favored to win because we're the higher seed.
I don't know how the weather is going to be like. I always forget these are outdoor games.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. But again, we know the field. It's our home field. I don't know how many.
I'm checking the weather. I know.
Right. It's going to probably be poor weather. I don't think you'll have a big crowd, but it's still a home game.
Oh, it'll be sunny. It'll be sunny.
I expect success. I think we're going to do
high of 48.
It'll be really great to watch and kind of see what happens there. Here's the interesting case. I think for any team sport, the 3 ingredients I mentioned still apply. Unless you're doing BMX.
Good players, good coaching, buy-in.
Right. BMX, I don't know if you really recruit players, but
I don't know.
The 3 core ideas that I'm talking about, they're a little bit different across each sport, and you might label them a little bit differently because, you don't do recruiting in every sport and whatnot. But the ideas are still the same. So with the hockey team, it's hard for me to tell.
Okay.
I don't think the talent's there, but I think that's because it's year 1.
Yes.
So I don't think that's a problem.
A lot of young players.
At this current moment in time, I think that ingredient is lacking. I think that ingredient will come into play once they develop. Once we start putting actual recruiting classes together, right? We got the remnants of the transfer portal, just players that were left over, right?
Yes.
Not like they weren't wanted, but the best players were gone by the time we made a coaching decision, which was understandable. Grant left pretty late in the year.
Yes.
But now you have the chance to go and get your favorite guys out of the portal. The athletic budget just got some big donor money. So you've got the ability to do that. I don't know the status of Northern's NIL, but you can at least do something. You'll be able to get your first full...
You can buy like T-shirts and
right. There's a
jackets and
you
stuff.
Can get, you can get your first full recruiting class. I saw something online about we've gotten like 4 or 5 guys already. So good start. And it's only up from here. Because again, you got guys that were leftovers in the transfer portal and stuff like that. So they'll continue to develop. They'll get better. You'll be able to recruit full classes, get some transfers. That part is missing, but I think we'll find it. Coaching, again, I don't know. It's hard to determine coaching when the talent is not there. I think, unlike the football team, there are positive signs.
For hockey?
Yes. They lose, and they lose badly. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. It's 14 goals scored, 40 against.
Yes.
But the record and the goal scoring is a problem. But when I look at the box scores, because I'm actually excited for hockey unlike football, that died in me a long time ago.
Yeah.
But with hockey, I look at the box scores, and I see that in a lot of games, we play better 5-on-5. We get killed on the power play. Like our penalty kill and power play are terrible. But we outplay them 5-on-5. We outshoot them. And in most games, we outchance them.
Okay.
Not in all games. I think Lake Superior was a pretty resounding 5-0, 5-1. But in a lot of the other games, there were positive signs. And they just couldn't convert. Which, again, when you have a lot of freshmen and sophomores, right, on a big stage, it's tricky. But you had positive signs. So, coaching? Maybe. Question mark, right? That gets me to the third, and like I've said multiple times, most important ingredient, buy-in. And here's the key. The football team does not have buy-in. The hockey team, from the limited knowledge that I have, has buy-in.
Okay.
And they have been doing a lot of team-building activities in the community, in the locker room.
Yeah, I've not seen that in the football program.
I haven't even seen this.
Maybe they have.
I haven't even seen this with any of our programs, though. This is a new thing, like these Blue Line luncheons. They have been going out to dinner and doing stuff. They do a lot of team activities just with the team. He's been very open in his press conferences about how, like, that's been a focus, right? Building a culture. Culture leads to buy-in. And I think they have buy-in because they built the culture. And yeah, it's hard to maintain buy-in and culture when you're losing, but when you create those foundations when you first come in, and being an NMU alum and former national championship player, of course, helps.
Yes.
But having those key elements, right, you have one, in the near future, right, with the recruiting, coaching a question mark, but you have the culture. And so I'm optimistic that by the time I graduate, I think it's going to take a few years. I think it'll be bad this year and next year and maybe the year after. But I think by the time I graduate, this team is going to turn it around. And like when you look at teams, maybe NFL is a good example because you and I are primarily football guys. You look at the Browns when they were bad. No buy-in. You look at the Matt Patricia Lions. No buy-in.
No buy-in.
That's why they didn't turn it around.
Who was the previous coach to Matt Patricia? I forget his name. But I know there was buy-in with him. That's why when he got fired.
Oh, Jim Caldwell.
I know there was buy-in.
Right, that was bad.
But there were, I don't know.
That was Bob Quinn trying to hire his BFF, but neither here nor there. You look at like, trying to get some other good examples here that would be applicable as to buy-in or lack of buy-in.
I mean, there's some buy-in at Michigan State. Like I know John Smith is. There's not any threats of transfers.
Right.
There's players.
There's buy-in clearly at Indiana. Significant buy-in.
Yeah.
They've got tons of buy-in. Oregon's got buy-in.
Michigan had buy-in for the later years of
Michigan had buy-in for all of Harbaugh, I think, except for maybe 2020.
Okay.
They bought in. Sharon Moore, it's tough to say. We'll see. I have a feeling if we lose to Northwestern, he won't last the year. But again, neither here nor there. If we lose to Northwestern, we can start having that conversation of what.
I think maybe Tech's football team has some buy-in because I mean they beat us every year for the last 14 years.
Yeah, I'm just trying to focus on bigger brands. I'm looking at pro football specifically as to determine. Like I'm trying to think of teams that have turned it around because they've had buy-in, and teams that haven't because
I know the LA Lakers, like they have good players, but I don't think they have buy-in. Because he keep firing coaches.
That's hard to say. That's hard
Every
to say.
2 years, they fire a coach.
That's a tough one.
Good coaches don't want to go to LA anymore.
That one's tough. But I would say,
if the
Chiefs had buy-in, right? This unproven rookie in Patrick Mahomes, right? He rallied the team. They bought in that he could be the one, and then they won 3 straight.
When the Milwaukee Bucks won the national championship, I think they had buy-in.
The NBA title. They had buy-in, right? They trusted, I forget the coach at the time, but they trusted the coach. They trusted Giannis, right? The Pistons at this current moment, they're not great, but they're getting better. They have buy-in, right?
Yes.
The Cavs, when LeBron got drafted, they had buy-in. Now that they're 11-0 again, they have buy-in.
Yeah.
Teams like the Hornets that have been stuck being bad for years have lacked buy-in, right? I think the ultimate point that I want to make here is no matter how bad your team is, and don't get me wrong, the hockey team is in the worst shape I've seen it in years, might even be the worst they've ever been. But they have buy-in, which means you can turn it around.
And on that thought, hold that thought if you have anything more to say. But if anyone is just joining us here tonight, this is the Jack and Dom Radio Show here on WUPX 91.5 FM H2N Marquette. Talking about buy-in.
Speaking of buy-in, though, I think there's one team that proved last night.
Oh my goodness!
The importance of buy-in.
Oh,
that team was crushed. We were down. I thought for sure we were going to lose by 3 scores. Goff, I think, has been lingering an injury, but that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
But I think the more important thing is, when you get down like that and you go in a locker room, they were lucky to only be down, what was it, 23-7? 20-7?
Let me look up.
I think it was 23-7, but I could be wrong. I think they shut them out in the second half. No, I think it actually might have been, I think it was.
23-7.
Yep. 23-7.
They scored a touchdown with 12 seconds left in the game, or second and a half, excuse me.
Because I think it was another Detroit something or other.
There was a lot. They scored a lot of field goals in the first half. Yes. That's why it kind of kept us in the game. So the defense helped.
But here's the important part. You go in the locker room down 23-7, right? Technically 2 scores, but the odds of you getting 2 2-point conversions are low. So really it's 3 scores, right? A lot of teams there panic. But they go in there, they come out in the second half. There's some moments where I'm like, Goff is still shaky, throwing some picks. Montgomery looked really poor. The defense kept bending, and every time I thought they'd break, and all credit to them because they didn't. The pick in the end zone by Carlton Davis was huge.
And they would double team Amon-Ra.
They took Amon-Ra. But the point was, I wasn't in that locker room. I doubt they'll release the halftime locker room speech. Not a normal thing to do. But we know from past experience that Dan Campbell can motivate guys like no other.
Yes.
And whatever that locker room speech was, whatever it was.
I would love to be a fly on the wall.
Right.
Oh, my goodness. I would pay so much money to hear what
Dan Campbell said. Yeah. But not even that, though. It's what Dan Campbell said. It's the adjustments on the offensive side of the ball to do these bubble screens.
And the defensive side. The Texans did not score in the second half.
Right, because of game plan adjustments. Now, to be fair, the Texans' offensive coordinator went to Cancun and took the night off.
There were some sacks and interceptions,
but that didn't
takeaways.
Help. But the point is, I guess the theme of this show is buy-in. You had buy-in, you had the motivation. They went out there. All of America was like, the Lions are fake. They can't win this, right? It adds fuel to the fire. I'm sure they saw or heard something along those lines, right? And they proved themselves. And whatever that halftime speech was, they responded. And that's important because, honestly, whether we won or lost this game, glad we won because I think it's better that way. Not only for the record, but for motivation.
8-1.
I think to have a game like this against a semi-quality opponent was important. You did everything wrong. Everything.
Maybe you still won.
Actually, I take that back. The defense did some things right.
Yes.
But the offense did everything wrong. I mean, 5 picks.
Oh, my goodness.
Play calling. They couldn't run the ball.
Couldn't really pass the ball.
Boneheaded moves after boneheaded moves. Like, I've never seen anything like it in my time of watching.
It looked like same old Lions for a hot minute there.
Yeah, and they proved they could overcome that.
Yes.
So, one, I think that proves the Lions are tops in the NFC. still, and in my opinion, top of the NFL. But it proves that they can respond to adversity. And they really haven't had all that much adversity this year, maybe the first half against the Vikings. But obviously that was nowhere close to this level. So Lions played the worst possible game you could play on offense. 5 interceptions. And they still won.
You don't win games with 5 interceptions.
The last time that happened was like Matt Ryan in like 2016.
I thought it was back in the 60s or something.
No, Matt Ryan and Tony Romo have both done it.
Okay.
Ironically, 2 QBs that choke in the playoffs. Let's hope that's not a trend. But Matt Ryan did make a Super Bowl, so honestly, I'll take that.
Okay.
That's all I asked for. Detroit in a Super Bowl. But anyway, you got 5 picks and you still couldn't win. Right? There are games where Detroit's defense has given up like 40 points and still won. Maybe not this year, but in years prior. Right? You can play lights out against this team on defense and still lose.
Yes.
So you're telling me, like, yeah, Lions are going to have some other bad games. But if you can rebound from 5 interceptions against a very solid Texans team that will no doubt be a playoff team and will probably win a playoff game, to be honest.
Because I think this
What's to say you can't beat any team in the NFL?
I think this was a D+, C- game for the Lions.
I actually give it like a B-.
B-,
You
okay.
really rebounded. You proved to the end.
Oh, okay, yeah, in the second half. Okay, because first half was bad.
I still give the whole game a B-.
Okay.
Because you can fail the first half.
You're averaging out. I get it.
Right. You can fail the first half of the class.
Okay.
But that second half was a masterpiece. I mean, Jesus. But
yes, it was.
Jake Bates is an MVP. But anyway.
Yeah. The field goals. Oh my goodness.
Those were so close. It was heart-wrenching. But one important thing I think
that's as close as you can get the ball to the upright without hitting it.
Absolutely.
You see the shadow.
But I think the interesting thing here is Goff now no longer has the pressure of playing to an MVP level. Right? The MVP campaign is all but over with that game. No doubt. You can't win MVP after that.
I mean, it's still like a bunch of games
Yeah, but
left.
Lamar and Allen and other guys are now way ahead of them.
That is true.
So, Goff no longer has the pressure of trying to win MVP and play like an MVP. Right? Goff just has to play like Detroit's MVP.
Yes.
He just has to keep winning games. The run game didn't do well in that game. Right? St. Brown was out.
Their defense
Laporta
locked
was
down.
injured.
Yeah.
McNeil got injured. Like, Carlton Davis got injured.
Jameer Gibbs can't do everything.
Well, I think all of them will be back by next week.
Yes.
But Jameer Gibbs and Jameson Williams stepped up big time. And here's what I learned from that game, other than the fact that it's going to be almost impossible to beat Detroit even if you do everything right. Which is why I still am sticking to my pick that they're going to win the Super Bowl. But part of that's delusion. But I still think that's...
And remember, we get to shave our heads.
That is true. Well, I think it's realistic.
My girlfriend really doesn't want me to shave my head.
I don't think anyone's reminding to anyway. But the point is, Lions are the favorites for a reason. And I think this game proved that you could have a great game plan coming in, right? They wanted to turn Jared into a pocket passer.
Yeah.
And they did. And they still got beat.
Isn't he a pocket passer, though?
No, but he likes to, not run the ball, but he likes to get out of the pocket and throw it outside the pocket and maneuver in the pocket.
Sure.
They wanted to contain
extend the play a little bit.
Which they did. They contained him very well. And they beat him, even though our run game wasn't working. So you could come in with a great game plan. Whether you're San Francisco, whether you're Green Bay, whether you're Minnesota, I believe you play Arizona at some point. No matter who you are. And it's still going to be a tough out, which I expected, but not to this level. This game proved to me that J-Mo's going to come back and be great again. You can shut down Laporta and St. Brown for a majority of the game.
Yes.
And yet still... they'll get catches in the clutch. Gibbs will step up. You can shut down Monty and Gibbs will step up and vice versa.
Goff had 240 yards.
Right. They have so many weapons on offense that you can't really shut them down forever. You made them throw 5 picks and you still got beat because they kept chugging.
2 were from Hail Marys.
Right. Well, 2 were from Hail Marys. 1 was from a deflection, yada, yada. But you did everything right and you still lost. And then on defense...
that's life.
On defense, though, they looked terrible in the first half. They got consistently beat, held them to a few field goals, but consistently beat. And they come out in the second half and they shut them out.
Yes.
And this defense, I believe, if you look at the metrics, is in the upper half, maybe even top 10. which is crazy considering we were like 31st last year. So you got better at literally everything. You are likely, you hold your keys to your own destiny here. Philly and Washington are close behind you for the 1 seed. But not only do they play each other, they have a tough schedule, which Detroit does too. But Detroit has already beat Green Bay and the Vikings once. And I believe those are both on the road. Am I correct?
Say, can you ask that
Green
again?
Bay was on the road for sure. Was the Vikings a home game or an away game? I think it was an away game.
Yes, the Vikings was an the Vikings and Packers
you've got
are both
home
away
games.
games.
You've got home games against the Vikings and Packers. 2 games against the Bears. Even on Thanksgiving, we lose every year. I think this year
we're gonna beat them.
There's no way.
We're
no way. Caleb Williams looks like the worst out of the top 4 rookie quarterbacks.
The Bears, they got destroyed by
Drake May.
By a bad Patriots team.
But here's my point, though.
Which I never thought I would say in my life.
So the point is, those 4 games are winnable, and I think we should win all 4 of them. Because we play really good against
we should own the NFC North.
Right. So that shouldn't be a problem. I mean, it might be. We always trip up to at least one of them.
And that's,
the out of our remaining games,
that's fine.
Jacksonville and Indy would be embarrassing losses and should be shoo-in wins with the way those 2
teams should be 40-plus point differential.
So out of those 6 games, we maybe drop 1 to a division rival. So that's 5 out of 6. So that brings you to 13-2.
Which is really good.
Which 2 games am I missing? Is it Arizona? No, it's San Francisco, and who's the other?
Because we're beating the Jaguars, beating the Colts, beating the Bears, beating the Packers, the Bills.
Bills and Niners are the last 2?
The Bills going to be a challenge, but the 49ers, they're not looking too good right now.
We
could lose the Vikings last game of the year.
So let's say we drop a few. I think we'll sit right around
the Bills and the Vikings.
I think we sit right around 14-3, 13-4. I think it'll end up being 13-4, which I think will be enough to win us the conference because you got to remember the Eagles are 7-2, the Commanders are 7-3. So I think that'll be enough.
Okay.
At the very least, you're getting a top seed and you're hosting a playoff.
With a possibility that we could win out.
Well, that's what I think best case scenario, you go 14-3.
Okay.
I think it's unrealistic to think you're only going to lose
the one game. Because
we really should be 9-0.
We should have beaten the Buccaneers.
Right. I agree with you there. But the point is, I think we are going to have great success in the coming weeks. One thing I want to do though, since we've got about 10 minutes left.
Well, are the Lions starting to look like the 07 Pats, the 2000 Ravens, the 99 Rams,
stop. Today was
the 91?
Proof, today was proof we're not at that point. But listen,
I don't know. I mean, we played a bad game and still won. So
but the difference is there was no bad game for the 07 Patriots. The 07 Patriot,
Okay.
But the 07 Patriots went out there and dominated. Okay. So here's my question to you. Go ahead and pull up the NFC playoff picture or the NFC standings, whichever one makes you happy.
Okay.
And I want to know, at this point in time, and when you post the recordings on Spotify, you remind yourself to go back and look at these at the end of the year. I don't know, set yourself a Google Calendar reminder or something for January.
I have iPhone.
Okay, an iPhone calendar, whatever that is,
okay,
for January. And let's, in January, come back and review I think it's about halfway through the season right now. Most teams have played 9 games.
Yep. Lions are 8-1.
Right. Let's review.
Eagles at number 2.
Review our halfway through the season picks at the end of the year and see how they go. So, I'll start with my 1 through 7 seed, then you can do yours. Okay. Well, actually, I'll do mine. You can comment on mine, and then you can do yours. Okay. 1 seed Lions. I assume you're not going to fight me there.
Nope.
Okay. 2 seed, I think, is going to end up being the Eagles.
Okay.
Any doubt there? Okay, here's where I think it's going to get interesting. I think this is going to be a shock to you. Well, maybe not because I'm biased. But I think, surprise, Arizona is going to be 3.
Okay. Interesting.
Disagree?
I'm assuming they have a softer schedule ahead of them.
Let me take a look, but I believe
because if they do, then I would agree that then if the harder games are behind them.
They have a medium schedule. They've got Vikings, Seahawks twice, which is tough. Patriots and Panthers, which are easy. Rams and Niners. So basically, if they win their division games, which I think they will, because the Seahawks are in free fall, and they've done well against division opponents. But anyway, so do you think it's going to be them at 3? If not, who do you think it's going to be? I would have respect if you said the Niners.
I would say the Commanders.
Well, they can't. You agreed Eagles are 2, right?
Yes, the Commander.
It's got to be it's based on division winners.
Oh.
So you either got to pick.
Oh, then
NFC
hold on.
South.
Let me organize the standings by division. Okay. Yeah, I would have Lions, Eagles.
So do you disagree with my Cardinals pick? Or do you think it's going to be the Niners, the Rams, the Falcons?
Cardinal. Yeah, I don't think the 49ers are going to come back. They're not looking too hot.
Is my Cardinals pick fair?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the Falcons.
I would agree with those. Now, wild cards where things get interesting.
The NFC South is like
really
weak right now. Yeah.
The Falcons just lost to the head coachless Saints. But anyway, I think the 5 seed, because we've gone through all the divisions, I think the 5 seed
would be the Commanders.
Has to be the Commanders. I think they'll fade a little bit, but I don't think they're going to fade as much as the next couple teams.
And I think the Vikings will be like right next to the Commanders.
I don't.
Okay.
I think the Packers are going to pass the Vikings.
Oh,
and end up as number 6.
Okay, I think we have a disagreement there.
Now, I would say big funny Vikings missed the playoffs. But I just don't trust the 49ers.
It's not the first time the Vikings started 5-0 and then missed the playoffs.
So I think the Vikings will sneak in at 7, but I think the Packers will beat the Vikings at, TNT Bank Stadium. I don't know the name of the Viking Stadium. But I think the Packers will beat the Vikings on the road as the Vikings won at Lambeau and take the lead there.
Okay.
So I think that will be 6 and 7. I don't trust the Vikings against quality opponents. I think Sam Darnold has gotten figured out. Let's shift to the AFC, and then I don't want to go through a whole playoff picture, but we can do conference championship and Super Bowl. Yeah. Then we can come back to that part in February.
I'm getting tired.
Well,
I got work after this.
We got 5 minutes.
Okay.
So, undisputed Chiefs are the 1 seed.
I know. I wish they would fall.
I'm not as much of a Chief hater as other people, but I would like the Lions to have the best record in the NFL. Okay. Don't think I'm going to get any argument if I say the Bills are going to be 2.
Yep, I'm with you. Yeah, Bills number 2.
Here's where it gets interesting. I think the Ravens will pass the Steelers and end up being the 3rd seed.
What's the Ravens' schedule for the year?
They've got the Steelers up next, so that will really tell you.
Okay.
I might look like an idiot by next week. Chargers, Eagles, Giants, Steelers again, Texans, Browns. So Texans, Giants, Browns are all winnable, and those 2 Steelers games are going to decide the division.
Yeah, so, that's what I'm looking for to then really decide.
So
I would say Ravens too, but they are obviously one game behind.
Right. Well, we'll know by next week.
Yes.
Okay. Or it might be the week after.
Then the Texans,
Texans 4.
Yeah, Colts are not catching up. I don't think they're going to catch up.
Wild card 1 is where I think you're going to be surprised. Well, not really. Okay, Steelers will be wild card 1.
It's not the Jet. Okay. The loser or
the loser of the Ravens Steelers is going to be
exactly. Yeah, that's where I'll be.
6, I think, without a doubt, is going to be my Jim Harbaugh Chargers.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense. It's the only other team that's like
7 is going to be tough because there's nobody good. But hear me out.
Do you think the Broncos?
Hear me out. Denver Broncos.
Broncos country. Let's ride.
So, and I think they could make some. Bo Nix, if he plays like he did this past week, they could make some noise. But right now, I think they're going to be a 7 seed and sneak in by their coattails. Okay.
You think the Denver Broncos are going to?
No.
They'll sneak into the playoffs, but by trying to sneak into the playoffs.
No, they're not doing that. I know what you're talking about. The Raiders and Chargers thing.
No.
Oh no.
No, they're going to harness the power of Blucifer.
Okay.
Do you know who Blucifer is?
Yes. No, we're not even going. Okay.
He's, for those who don't know, if you drive into Denver International Airport, there's a large blue horse statue with glowing red eyes.
Okay. Anyway.
Named Blucifer.
Okay. I think the conference championship game, I think you're going to be surprised by this. Because of how the seeding is going to play out. I think you're going to have the Lions win their first round game. The Eagles win their first round game as the 2 seed. I think Cardinals will win their first round game against Lions still playing the first round. Silly me. Okay. Eagles will win against my 7 seed. Cardinals will win against my 6 seed. I think the Commanders are going to beat the Falcons. I think the Lions will beat the Commanders.
Yep.
And I think this is going to surprise you. I am a little biased, but I think based on how they're playing, it's very possible. I think the Cardinals will upset the Eagles. And I think the Lions will win the conference championship.
Okay.
On the AFC side, I'm not even going to do a playoff bracket. I'm just going to say...
You think the Chiefs are going to just...
Bills at Arrowhead, and the Chiefs are going to break their hearts again.
Okay.
And I think
it's going to be Taylor Swift, that's why.
I think the Lions, against a surprise opponent, against a favorable opponent...
The Chiefs.
Against the Cardinals. Remember, I haven't got to the Super Bowl yet.
Oh.
Given that I think the Eagles are going to do what the Eagles do best and mess it up against the Cardinals.
Okay.
By the way, the Cardinals' other playoff game, I think in my bracket, you'll have to go back and listen to the recording. But I think I said something like the Packers and Vikings, which I think is a winnable game for them. So anyway, Lions beat the Cardinals. I think the Lions would beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl matchup. So I'm going to say Lions over Chiefs, but every year a surprise happens, and my surprise is the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay.
So I know I did my whole playoff bracket, but for the sake of time...
I can't disagree. I mean...
sake of time, what are your NFC and AFC championships?
I don't know. I mean...
And pick an upset, because everyone's going to say Chiefs, Bills.
I think the Lions, Eagles, for the NFC, and then the Chiefs, and I think the Chiefs and maybe the Steelers if they...
Wow. I assume the Chiefs are still winning, though?
Yes, I think the Chiefs are going to...
the NFC?
The Lions are going to beat the Eagles.
And then who's winning your Super Bowl?
The Lions, of course.
Okay. So we may be both a bit delusional.
I know.
We both think Lions will win it. So I think, bottom line, Lions have buy-in. Lions just won about the worst possible game. And...
I know.
They really did.
I know. I'm laughing because I agree.
Anyway.
Usually when the Lions play like that, they get blown out of a cannon, out of the stadium, and end up in pieces. Like when the dust settles. Right. It's usually like 40-0, and the Lions got the nothing. But no. The Lions win. The Lions somehow figure out a way to win. But... yeah, that's all I got for this show. Anything else you want to...
That's it for me. Great job by the Tigers. Lions for getting buy-in. Also, last minute thing.
Sure.
AJ Hinch is a finalist, the Tigers manager, for the AL Manager of the Year.
Oh, yeah. Did we have a chance to talk about the trade that the Lions got from the Browns?
We did not. That is a great topic for next week.
Yeah, because
we'll see you on Monday. We'll talk Lions. We'll talk everything.
Yeah, he'll get to play next week.
Have a good week, everybody. Rest up.
Yes.
It is a windy, cold winter day.
Yes. And for anyone who's short out there, make sure you have an anchor next to you so you don't fly away in the 40+ mile per hour wind gusts. And definitely please stay safe out there. This is the Jack and Dom Radio Show here on WUPX 91.5 FM H1 Marquette. We will see you guys next week. Bye.